Morning, Olin. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm good. Although it may be Olin week, it's actually my daughter Abigail's birthday today. So she's 12. So
Ah,
happy birthday to her.
happy birthday, Abigail. That's great. 12 years old. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
If only we could turn back the clock. That was one of my glory years as a 12-year-old. It all went downhill.
That's good.
So help us out, Olin. When you went back and looked at that game, and I'm sure you looked at it again, what jumped out at you when you reviewed it?
Just the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be the Lions game, the Denver game, or the Lions game last year, even guys, 31-30, the Bears lose. They're up 14 in the fourth quarter. Just a meltdown of mistakes that you're watching, and then the offense can't move the ball, can't get a play, can't get anything going, right? Even the end of the first half where they get the ball and they're finally in position for a 2-for-1, and they don't move the ball. They don't get anything out of that, end up with a Hail Mary on the second drive, but they get the ball with 3 minutes and 48 seconds left in the first half. You want them to move the ball there, try to get some points. The defense, again, plays amazing, right, guys? But then it's just, again, you're like, man, even on the Njoku's first play or Amari Cooper's play, I think that's Terrell Smith in coverage. We talked about it with Jameson Williams scored for the Lions. I think Coach Eberflus said you got to play high to low there if you're a cornerback in that situation. Again, it's just kind of the same mistakes, and you're watching to play a team, guys, with an identity that they don't want, right? That they can't win games late. And I'm sure we're all watching the game thinking, man, it feels like they got a lead here. It feels like they're going to put this team away. It feels like they got big enough an advantage. And again, everything just happens the right way, where a guy, Joe Flacco, comes off his couch, throws for 200-plus yards in the fourth quarter and beats you in Cleveland, a team that's decimated by injuries.
So, Olin, if you had an opportunity to talk to Luke Getsy about what went wrong on Sunday and what you might have done or what you thought as you were watching it, how would that go? And what do you think that the Bears offense didn't try to do enough of?
Man, if I had a chance to talk to Luke Getsy, David, you got to close the door. There'd be a lot of yelling and screaming in that room. I'd have a lot of questions for him, and I'm sure he'd have a lot of answers. And I'd love to know his perspective on the way he sees things and Justin Fields. But I just ask him, Dave, simply in a room, you go back to Cleveland. Everyone talked about, I think you guys described it as the scene of the crime, right? Justin Fields' first start, 9 sacks. Justin Fields said, I got hit in the pocket, right? They asked him about the game. He said, man, I just remember getting sacked. You don't want to get him hit. You want to move the pocket early. Keep him clean. Get his confidence up. First play of the game, right? Shotgun, play action pass, deep drop back in the pocket in Cleveland with those elements, the wind, the rain. Why was that a good idea for the first play of the game? And sure enough, Darnell Wright gets beat by Zadarius Smith. And on the first play of the game, Justin Fields gets hit again. And it's just kind of those kind of questions is what I would ask. Why would you throw? What made you want to do a toss crack towards Myles Garrett when you get the ball back in Justin Fields' hands in the situation? We all need to see him, right? We all need to see him with the ball in his hands, late in the game against a very, very good defense on the road. That was the situation, guys, we talked about on this show. And this hit 7 a.m. last week Monday. Man, love to see him with the ball in his hands late in that game versus the number one defense. They get it back. First thing they do is lose 5 yards on first down. So now you're in 2nd and 15, and things just go the wrong direction. What do you call when you're in 3rd and 15 and you just dump it down to Roschon Johnson, and we don't get a chance to see Justin Fields in the situation we need to see him in, doing the things he does the best? Move the pocket, get him out of the pocket, get him on the run, make the defense, challenge the defense to have pocket integrity and keep him in the pocket. I don't think we ever got to see that yesterday. They did it, the only time I can remember them doing it was that Robert Tonyan drop where they faked the toss and he rolled out. Cole Kmet, nice block on Myles Garrett there, and then he throws it down the field, but we don't make that play.
It was fascinating to hear some of the sound that came out of the locker room, and maybe the one that was most interesting was Darnell Mooney, who said that the offense definitely got comfortable in the third quarter. And he said that I put the onus on the players. He said that lackadaisical, just conservative, everybody just happy that we were winning. Just you've got to be aggressive and continue to put your foot on the pedal and just go out there and punch them. I just think it was an interesting comment. It was strange that he said it, and Eberflus was asked about it and said that's not the case. And it sure did seem like they felt pretty good at one point. And I get it. It was the defense. It was the big touchdown pass to Amari Cooper. But good God, that's an indictment for a receiver. By the way, 2 catches again for Darnell Mooney. He has been struggling to be productive, and they did target him. He got the ball thrown his way, but just 2 catches.
Yeah, it's just that statement doesn't. A lot of the statements that came out of the locker room didn't make a lot of sense. But you would imagine after a game like that, who has the answers to what just happened, right? What we just watched. But an offense that only managed really 1 drive for points. It was a 9-play, 47-yard, 4-minute and 38-second drive. Why would you be comfortable, right? You should be really, really disappointed in the way you're playing and the way you're operating out there and trying to say to guys, we got to get 1 drive here. So if that's true, which I'm sure, that's the way he felt. He's on that sideline. Only he would know. But if true, guys, you see why they maybe do have a culture problem there, right? And where are their leaders on offense who are demanding that, guys, come on, let's get going. Let's try to move the ball. We got to do something here in today's game to help out our defense, who sure has done enough.
So, Olin, in the fourth quarter, as you point out, Joe Flacco threw for 212 yards. On the day, you had Marquise Goodwin have a 57-yarder, Amari Cooper a 51-yarder, and then Njoku the 34-yarder that was the dagger in the end. If you are Matt Eberflus and you are a defensive head coach, and up to this point, as your job speculation continues, obviously people could point to, well, you know what, the defense, at least the defense, is making progress and is something that you can lean on and point to. Can you, though, after yesterday? Is that enough for Matt Eberflus to cling to as the basis for why he deserves to keep his job?
Not only after yesterday, but you got to go back to all the losses like this, right? And then you got to figure out why do they keep happening? Where are the details? I mean, I know everyone's complaining about, why is Justin Jones in coverage there, right? Well, what is the depth of his drop supposed to be there, right? Where is he actually supposed to be on the field to say, look, I'm just a D lineman in coverage? Confuses me. I played a lot of football in my time. The details, guys, are always there. We want you at this depth and in this area of the field. Now, was he in the right area? Did he do the right drop at that moment? But that also goes back to coaching, right? Did you coach him to do that? Were you insistent in practice on the details that, look, I want you in this exact spot if we call this blitz in a critical situation? So can he cling to it? Right now, David, after that game, there's not much to cling to. The defense did play great. TJ Edwards all over the field. Montez Sweat, the secondary shut them down the whole game, which you would expect with, once Batonio went out. I mean, they're basically playing with offensive linemen all off their practice squad, right? So that you cannot lose to that unit. There's a reason if I'm sitting in the office today and they're telling me how great they played, I just keep pointing to, guys, look at the offensive line you were playing against, right? Montez Sweat dominated that game, but he was going against a guy who was on the practice squad to start the year, right? They're down three tackles. So who is that right tackle you're actually going against? Who is the left guard? I think Wyatt Teller was out there. He would be the only guy left from their starting unit. Everybody else out there were practice squad guys. And I'm just wondering why, yes, the D-line was ferocious, but they should be, right? They should be in that game. We should be able to end the game at that moment. If we're just taking the offense out and talking about, okay, this defense is good enough for me to keep my job, that's fine. But if I'm sitting there as the general manager, I'm asking Coach Eberflus, I put the film up and I say, look at the guys you're going against, right? Look at you guys had a great game, but we still didn't finish the game. And even the Njoku makes that catch, guys, on the first down, he had a 31-yard catch also. And they're in zone, right? They're in full zone. They're not blitzing at that time. And he catches the ball right there and goes 31 yards down the field. Ends up with like 65 yards catching on one drive to end the game. These are questions I have to find out about, David. because right now it just seems like this is happening too many times.
What was your impression of Justin Fields in that game? And there were a lot of drops. I said to David, I had actually forgotten Robert Tonyan was on the field until he dropped that ball.
Yeah, and for the offense, right, it's not only Justin Fields, it's just, converting on fourth downs, want him to make that play, want him to beat Mitchell there. I know everyone says Mooney whiffed on that block. But again, we talk about details. We talk about Justin Jones. I'm going to ask Justin Fields. I don't know. David, that's what I would ask Getsy. I would ask Getsy, what is when Justin Fields fakes the play action on this play, what is his depth supposed to be coming out? Because it looks like he's tight to me there, guys. Looks like he's not getting enough depth on that boot to get around the corner, right? Everything in a football game, you guys will be shocked when things fall apart. The things you didn't do was the things you were supposed to be doing. Everything is off by a yard. So it looks to me now, and I don't know what they tell him to come out of his depth. I've been around some coaches who coach the boot, and the depth is you have to get depth so you can get around that corner, get yourself some room, and make a read. It looks to me like he doesn't there, right? As far as Justin Fields' game goes, besides the pass to Tonyan, and then the one he missed, and then he hit DJ Moore right after that beautiful ball on the sideline, back shoulder ball. If he played, guys, if we talked about last week against the Lions, he played about how you think he would play. He played against a Jim Schwartz attacking defense with a good secondary, about how he has played against like a Flores defense, a Bose defense, a Spagnuolo defense. What the Chicago Bears are, guys, it's really interesting, man, when you watch them. And that's why I was on with you guys last week. And I predicted to you guys that he would have the ball laid in his hands to win the game. Because these guys, you know what you're going to get. I'm telling you guys, it's one of the strangest teams to watch. When you watch them on film, if you watch them enough years, and you guys know we have been here watching them, you almost know what you're going to get versus certain teams. So what Justin Fields did yesterday against a blitzing defense, a secondary that can take DJ Moore away mostly and go one-on-one, and then blitz the guy with an exceptional elite pass rusher, he did about exactly what I thought. And I don't want to just say him, what him and that Luke Getsy plan would get you.
It was a reality check. It was after spending the week. A lot of people had built up this kind of fantasy idea that the Bears were a playoff team. And yesterday we found out exactly the difference between a playoff team and the Bears, Olin. So 3 games left. What are you looking for? What kind of things should we watch? What is there left to gain for a team that essentially ended its season Sunday in Cleveland?
Man, here we are again, right? Here we are again, whether it be Nagy's last year, John Fox's last year, is this Eberflus's last year? Man, it was nice. You're talking, David. You're talking about last week. It was nice to talk football. It was nice to talk the matchup. It was nice to talk a team moving in the right direction. And maybe just maybe that's why we all went into this fantasy, because you get tired of the other stuff, right? What are we watching to end the season? Well, what can Justin Fields do? The story's the same, right? What could Mitch Trubisky do? What could Jay Cutler do? The story seems to never end. They got to find a way to get this train on a different track and moving in the right direction, because right now it seems like the story just keeps repeating itself. Whether I don't know what the problem may be. So obviously, last 3 games, what am I going to be watching? Young players, right, developing. Javon Dexter, what does Darnell Wright do? Can Tevin Jenkins, who went down yesterday, can he make it back on the field? How do guys finish the year? Do I have leaders in my locker room? Do I have guys pushing guys to move in the right direction? Challenging guys, because like Mully talked about, interesting comments coming out of the locker room yesterday. A lot of guys maybe jumping off the ship. Stay on the ship, guys. Stay on the ship. Jumping off the ship is not going to help you get an extra contract.
I'm curious, Olin. We had a conversation this morning about something we talked about yesterday. Now that the Bears are insured of a losing season, what do you do about getting playing time or player development down the stretch in your final 3 games? And as you pointed out yesterday, you already have a ton of young players playing, and you have talked about Dexter for a few weeks, and that's a good one. Our executive producer, Dustin Rhodes here, said that he doesn't think Fields should play another down. He shouldn't suit up for another game, because you should go to Tyson Bagent, and then if you're going to trade this guy, preserve what his ability, the draft capital that you might get, just in case you decide to trade him, if nothing else. that would seemingly be a message to everyone that it's over, which again, it is over, but nonetheless, you'd be inviting people to quit on the season. What is your take on that idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's as crazy as it sounds. It makes sense if you talk about it. If you talk it through about are you going to trade Justin Fields? Well, you don't want him injured, right? You don't want him to trade that. Everyone, like I just talked about, has seen what he is. Now, the way the NFL is, like you're talking about, you got to worry about your team. You got to worry about your culture. You got to worry about keeping everybody moving in the right direction, which is extremely important for the Chicago Bears with how young their football team is. They do not, as you can see, over the last 2 years, they do not have a winning culture. Well, let's just go ahead, Brad Biggs, last 13 years, right? They've had, since 2010, the playoff win. Right. Sadly, I was on the field for the last playoff win. I'm balding and I'm old, right? Wow. We haven't seen a playoff win around here for a while. So now, but you just eventually, man, guys, your culture of winning is more important. Keeping Justin Fields on the field. He is your best quarterback. You're going to play your best players. Nobody wants to see Tyson Bagent with Justin Fields on the side. I tell you what I'd rather see, and I'd rather what Dustin thinks about this. I'd rather see Janocko calling plays, right? I'd rather see Justin Fields as someone else at the helm calling plays. However they do it, they don't got to fire Getsy. They can move around. They did that with Desai in Philadelphia, right? Things aren't working, Philadelphia, so they make the hard decision, right? Ryan Post told us weeks ago, I make the hard decisions. Well, make them, right? Make the hard decision today, then, if that's what you do, right? Don't just talk about HR problems and firing coaches. Make the hard decisions on the football field. Go out there, give Justin Fields someone else, another ear in his voice. We all want to see him with someone else calling plays and see what the problem is. I would think that would be a better idea than going to another quarterback. I personally would go to another play caller.
I'd agree with you. I'd support that, and I think that would at least show you're trying to respond to a situation that seems pretty dire. Speaking of hard decisions, Olin, before we let you go, how do you think the conversation went, if they had one at all, at the end of the first half? 55-yard field goal attempt. Cairo Santos, he's hit from 55 yards. I know the weather. I know the wind. It was in his face. It was raining. We all saw the same thing. Do you want your kicker to say, I'll try it anyway? Or do you want him to be the prudent one and say, well, you know what? I don't think I have it in me today, so go throw the Hail Mary and see how your chances are there?
Yeah, I asked the same question, David, that you asked. I defer to our resident special teams expert, Patrick Manley, who knows a lot about that. We all know he is an expert at special teams. And he says at that moment, they just know that he can't make that field goal. And I'm guessing you're 0% chance of making a field goal on a Hail Mary. I don't know what the percentage is, but I know it's not zero. So I'm guessing that's why they did that, threw it down there. He just knew that he had no chance from that distance at all. And then we talked about, and you remember, when Nathan Vasher caught that ball and scored, right? So if the ball is short, you're taking a chance of, okay, the Cleveland Browns put their returner out there and they get a return on you in a game like that. That would be critical. And then, gosh, you talk about the ending your coach's career. If that situation would have happened, that would not have been good for anybody.
That would have been just like yesterday went. Yeah, the worst possible scenario.
Just a little earlier. A little earlier, right? Yeah, I got you.
This segment with Olin Kreutz sponsored by Plumbers 911. Plumbing emergency. Call the plumbing professionals, available 24/7 at 1-833-PLUM-911. And Olin, I guess he said in the post game that I think on the field he said to Jason McKee that it was 8 yards. They were 8 yards off from what he could have kicked into the wind there, and they felt that that they would have needed 8 more yards to even make an attempt.
My former teammate, podcast partner, and coach. I coached him this year. Yeah. Jason McKee, getting the scoop. But yeah, it makes sense, right? They go through all of that on the sideline, right? And we talked about that, and thinking the same thing, watching it, and just thinking, man, I guess they ask him, they ask Hightower. Those guys go over everything. They go over every situation, and it just wasn't the time for the kick.
Great stuff, Olin. Thank you. Happy birthday to your daughter. Enjoy the day.
Thanks, Olin.
Thanks. Thank you, guys.